I like the way you talk. Mm-hmm.
From high atop the battlements of Castle Curmudgeon, where you can't spell triumphant without Trump. Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. Welcome to this very special Inauguration Eve edition of the Blast Radius. But more importantly, welcome to living in a world where Joe Biden's America has seen its last sunset. Unless you're in Alaska or Hawaii, in which case you don't count anyway. I'm just kidding. We love all you crazy moose fuckers. The point being, if there was ever an evening where we had a happy occasion to celebrate, by God, it is this one. And with those solemn formalities out of the way, I present to you the last ever Decline of Western Civilization News Roundup. Why is it the last one ever? Well, clearly the segment requires a name change since Western Civilization is back, baby. What will the new name be? I don't fucking know. Discuss it in the chat. Get back to me. Dateline Swampington, D.C., Monday, 13 January. Disgraced outgoing FBI Director Christopher Wray, who also owns the Guinness World Record for most smugly self-satisfied smirk, declared this week that when his agency raided the Florida residence of once and future President Donald Trump back in 2022 looking for what was it, some dinner menus or something? Look, I don't remember the. It's so sensitive. It might be hidden in Milan. This panty drawer. At any rate, Director Smirky McSmirkface said specifics of an investigation. But what I can tell you is that part of the FBI's job is to safeguard classified information. And when we learn that information, classified material, is not being properly stored, we have a duty to act. And I
Perhaps we'll try that again in a moment. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Blast Radius. Now, I'm not 100% certain exactly what we've got planned tonight. I've got a few things. He's got a few things. Juicy J's invited but hasn't showed up yet. We'll see exactly what happens. Uh, I'm assuming he's having connectivity issues. I had thought that was my problem. However, he did just get a new computer, and we're apparently working the kinks out. So until he reappears, I'm going to go through chat, and then with my terribly crackly voice. Come on, whisper. I don't know what to tell you, man. I've been coughing for 5 days straight, and this is what's left of it. So, over here in what we call Chatsville, we have a brand new member. Congratulations. You will be getting updates better than anyone else on YouTube because you're a member. I don't know why else it would be. Apparently, we showed up, you know. Got Kissy May. Good to see you. Skeet Pick. That's a good name, bud. We're going to give that one a participation trophy for the moment. Mr. Horsepower. Seems kind of shady to me. We got Not Laws too. Welcome back to the show, bud. Appreciate your efforts.
So that's a thing that happened.
Apparently that happened. Yeah. Would you like to try to take that from the top, or would you like to move on?
I would very much like to. If you could talk for about 20 more seconds while I get the prompt.
Well, I got you, bro. We're still going through chat.
I would love to take it from the top. Thank you.
Absolutely. So we're going to do that for about 20 seconds. Let him get his situation together. But Not Laws 2, welcome in. Appreciate you coming by. Yeah, the lag is real. Got Ajot in chat. It's good to see you. Apparently my wife's dying in the background. I'll assure you she's perfectly fine. It's the coughing that gets to us when we're sick. That's the primary issue. No, I don't play saxophones. Actually, that's not true. I can't play the saxophone, actually. Okay. I do sound like insulation. That's true. It's not much better than what I can do, but we're doing it.
All right, before I was so rudely interrupted, from high atop the battlements of Castle Curmudgeon, where you can't spell triumphant without Trump, good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America and all ships at sea. Welcome to this very special Inauguration Eve edition of the Blast Radius. But more importantly, welcome to living in a world where Joe Biden's America has seen its last sunset. Unless you're in Hawaii or Alaska, in which case you don't count anyway. And I'm just kidding. We love all you crazy moose fuckers and all you luau dancing crazy bastards too. The point being, if there was ever an evening where we had a happy occasion to celebrate, by God, I think it is this one. And with those solemn formalities out of the way, I present to you the last ever Decline of Western Civilization News Roundup. Why is it the last one, you ask? Well, clearly the segment requires a name change since Western Civilization, it's back, baby. What'll the new name be? I don't know. Discuss it in the chat. Please get back to me. Dateline, Swampington, D.C., Monday, 13 January. Disgraced outgoing FBI Director Christopher Wray, who also owns the Guinness World Record for most smugly self-satisfied smirk, declared this week that when his agency raided the Florida residence of once and future President Donald Trump back in 22 looking for, what was it, like some dinner menus or something? Look, I don't remember the exact specifics, but this was very highly sensitive classified material that we are talking about. It is so sensitive, in fact. It might be hidden in Melania's panty drawer for all we know. At any rate, Director Smirky McSmirkface says there was nothing remotely improper about sending a heavily armed FBI tactical response unit to rifle through Mrs. Trump's lovelies in search of whatever it was searching for. But here's the quote from Director Wray. I want to be careful not to discuss too many specifics of an investigation, but what I can tell you is that part of the FBI's job is to safeguard classified information. When we learn that information, classified material, is not being properly stored, we have a duty to act. And I can tell you that in investigations like this one, a search warrant is not, and here was not, anybody's first choice. We always try to pursue, invariably, we try to pursue the least intrusive means. First trying to get the information back voluntarily, then with a subpoena, and only if after all of that we learn that the agents haven't been given all of the classified material and in fact those efforts have been frustrated, even obstructed, then our agents are left with no choice but to go to a federal judge, make a probable cause showing, and get a search warrant, and that's what happened here, end quote. Now, some inside sources have stated on condition of anonymity that the great Mar-a-Lago panty raid of 2022 was the biggest FBI scandal involving women's underwear since the last time J. Edgar Hoover got caught wearing them. You screwed up the line. This is where the rim shot happens, but I screwed up the line, so I'm not going to ask for the rim shot now. Moving on, Dateline Washington, Tuesday, 14 January. Disgraced outgoing vice president and certified good time girl Kamala Harris this week declined to issue the traditional invitation for incoming Vice President Senator J.D. Vance to pop over to the Naval Observatory for a little meet and greet. Maybe a few cold cuts, maybe a veggie tray, maybe a bottle of wine, and who knows? Maybe things start getting frisky and somebody brings out the Jaeger shots. Who knows? Maybe people start taking their shirts off. You never know what might happen. Oh, wait, never mind. That's just the way Kamala used to party back in Sacramento. She don't party like that no more. If we're being honest, these days she does most of her drinking in bathroom stalls. But then it's possible that I'm just jumping to conclusions here and doing so unfairly, and it's just a coincidence that she stumbles and slurs her words in every public appearance and looks like she's aged at least 15 years since the election and appears for all the world like she is way past the point of giving one single fuck about any of this. On the matter of the withheld invitation, Paul Bois of Breitbart News reports, quote, "The questions were initially rebuffed by a Harris political appointee, but there has since been communication between the Vance team and Navy aides who oversee the residence. Before Christmas, Navy officials provided an overview of the house to discuss the layout of the residence, logistics and practicalities of the move-in, and to help answer any questions the Vances had, a familiar person with the call said. Usha Vance spoke with second gentleman Doug Emhoff for about 40 minutes last week, sources said. Harris sources said that arrangements are underway to accommodate the Vance children, end quote. Mommy? Why do I keep finding empty vodka bottles under my bed? Did some really sad old lady used to live in this house? Dateline Los Angeles, Wednesday, 15 January. Pictures emerged this week, and God bless the internet, of alleged Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass yucking it up with dignitaries at a Ghana cocktail party during the exact moments when her city was going up in flames and beginning the journey toward becoming a smoldering wasteland. Now, if the first thing you're inclined to say about this is, hell, I didn't even know Los Angeles had diplomatic relations with Ghana, well, that makes two of us, because I damn well didn't know that either. Here, I have always thought, here in my crippling ignorance, that being a mayor was about things like, making sure the trash gets picked up, making sure the buses run on time, making sure the city doesn't get reduced to a post-apocalyptic hellscape because there's no fucking water in the fire hydrants, little mundane administrative trifling things like that. But Karen Bass, she don't roll like that, goddammit. She is Karen Bass, world citizen and international woman of mystery. She is the new model of mayor, you see, much like the mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, who is far too important to concern herself with her actual official duties. So in both cases, as a formerly great city backslides into something resembling a third world failed state, the mayor is boldly leading the fight against climate change, boldly leading the fight against racism and misogyny, and boldly getting drunk at parties thrown by African despots. But that's just the way the world works now, Jack. You folks in Los Angeles need to stop your whining and acclimate yourselves to your new third world reality. Because this is the way it works. In any real emergency, the public services quickly collapse under the weight of endemic incompetence and corruption, and the only residents who get out of the thing unscathed are the super wealthy who can pay cash out of hand for private services. I, for one, am just very, very glad that in spite of a $17 million budget cut, the LA Fire Department was still able to afford to hire a camera crew to follow the new lesbian fire chief around at the Pride Parade all day, as she received the enthusiastic plaudits of her grateful people for being so very awesome and amazing. What do proper civic priorities look like, ladies and gentlemen? Well, they look just like that. Dateline Ottawa, Thursday, 16 January. Disgraced outgoing Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, put on his best sad face this week as he announced that he not only will be standing down as Prime Minister and Liberal Party leader, but he will also be standing down from his seat in the House of Commons and not even running for re-election in his local district. Now, there's one of two things that could be happening here. Either one, he knows that he's such a political dead man walking, he knows his political brand is so toxic, so utterly ruined, that he doesn't even like his chances of defeating whatever random dude the Conservatives run against him in his own home district. Or two, he's about to cash in the Canuckistan version of the woke golden parachute that we have seen so many times down here in the States. You know how that exercise goes. You leave office in disgrace, then you get the cushy contributor gig at some regime-approved fake news sludge factory. You do that for a while. Then you get the 7-figure advance for writing a memoir that winds up selling many dozens of copies. Then you get the fancy Netflix documentary about what a very great statesman you were and how unfair it was about all those malevolent forces conspiring against you to end your career when you were still at the pinnacle of your political relevance. But that's okay, you assure the viewer right at the end, surrounded by your dutiful wife and your loving children. All I've ever really wanted is to be here at home, being a husband and father, and occasionally dressing up in blackface. Dateline Beijing, Friday, 17 January. The Chinese state media celebrated this week, as they often do, American young people acting like complete idiots. I mean, let's face it, when American young people act like complete idiots, our Chinese communist friends know their cultural subversion operations are succeeding and proceeding apace. And speaking of Chinese communist cultural subversion, TikTok just went offline, and the youngsters are freaking out so hard over the prospect of not having Chinese communist spyware in their lives anymore, they are flocking in their hundreds of thousands to something called Xiaohongshu, which, as I understand it, is Mandarin for Little Red Book. But let's face it, it could be Mandarin for I love giant butt plugs, for all I know, and your host would be none the wiser. The point being, these youngsters apparently are so emotionally afflicted at the prospect of the CCP, one or the other, not having a personal intelligence dossier on them, they are stampeding over to this Xiaohongshu thing, like Detroit residents trying to get big screen TVs from Walmart on Black Friday. No pun intended. In any event, this is the trend that, unsurprisingly, the Chinese state propaganda paper Global Times wrote a very gloating article about on Friday, and reached for comment. California Congressman Eric Swalwell angrily declared, "Now why the hell would I have any comment on that fucking story? Are you trying to make fun of me because I banged a Chinese spy? I feel like you're trying to make fun of me because I banged a Chinese spy. And I will have you know, that girl said she loved me long time." End quote. And here we arrive at the end of the last ever Decline of Western Civilization News Roundup. May it and the Joe Biden presidency rest in peace. And with that, I toss it over to my illustrious co-host, the man who put the id in hominid, the one and only, your friend and mine, Mr. Caucasian Sasquatch.
Tactical nuke incoming!
Just to be completely clear to everyone in the peanut gallery, if you hate me and you watch everything I produce, you, sir, are also a fan. Yes. All right, Cap. We got some stuff to talk about. It's been a wild week. You know TikTok's back, right?
You go first. I'm out of breath.
TikTok's back. Trump's saving it. He's the God Lord, God Emperor guy.
It went offline for a while, and then Trump saved it.
Is there a reason
Do
why?
we know anything about who's going? is it? I don't know exactly who's going to buy. I heard something about the number 20 billion, which would
It would
be
probably be a B.
for those
Yeah.
fans keeping
Sounds
score
like
at home. That's half as much as Elon paid for Twitter, which seems like kind of a wildly high sounding price to me. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know anything about that situation except that somebody somewhere dodged a bullet. I have no idea who it was or where the bullet came from. Because, I mean, let's be honest, our cell phones spy on us. So having just another country doing it is kind of a debatable point. I mean, do you think these people aren't going to have
Oh,
cell phones in the
you
future?
know what? You know what my favorite thing is when you're shopping for a product on one device and then you're using another device and those two devices aren't connected to each other in any way, but you still see the thing on the second device. When the first time you get a targeted ad that you were looking for on the first device. But no, they don't spy on us. Perish the thought.
I got one for you. My wife bought me a Bluetooth speaker, brought it home and set it on the table in front of me. And I picked up my phone and was scrolling through, and I got an ad for the speaker she had bought for me. And I'm like,
yeah, stuff like that.
So now they know, right? Like if they know that, if they can do that, then, and that's hands off. I don't believe a person was involved in that. I think that just happened and it's there to creep us out.
So did you watch any confirmation hearings this week?
I caught a little bit of a few of them, but they're so boring sometimes. You know? Sorry, I'm having some technical issues. Do you have a particular one in mind? What did I do? I said, do you have a particular confirmation hearing in mind?
Oh, well, I always start out with the best of intentions for these things, thinking I'm gonna listen attentively all week long, and then I always forget just how insufferable it is actually listening to them live, blow by blow, just because the senators are such incredible morons that I don't wind up making it nearly as far as I intended to. But I heard some of a few different ones. Pam Bondi was my favorite. I really kind of enjoyed when she hacked off Adam Schiff's tiny little testicles and shoved them in his mouth. I found that pretty gratifying.
I kind of missed that one, I guess. I didn't. I guess I didn't catch that episode.
Well, he was badgering and haranguing her in the way that he does, and she she very calmly pointed out that he was censured by Congress for doing that exact same thing to someone else last year, and boy did his face turn red all of a sudden.
I saw a tidbit. What was it? I think it's chairman of the Armed Services Committee or something, saying something about they were trying to throw something in his face about generals not being able to work in certain areas of the private sector.
Oh yeah, Elizabeth Warren and Pete Hegseth.
Right, and she asked him, would he sign the same contract? He's like, I'm not a
general, Senator. Are you what an own goal that is? Like,
right.
You know what?
Do they even know?
When you go back and look at film of Senate hearings from 80 or 90 years ago, the senators don't sound like morons. But the senators today sound like morons.
They sound educated and they speak on point, utilizing the actual rules of order. Now people just kind of scream at each other and somebody bangs on a gavel. I didn't even see anything actually happen. There was no movement on the needle. Nothing happens.
And everybody in the room, all they're trying to do is go viral.
Oh my God, is that what this is? Wow. Hey, Queen Bird, welcome in. Carpenter's Journey.
Queen Bird. Good to see you. Hi, everyone else in the chat. Let me.
Yeah, we got a few.
Did we
If you're
do
in
chat
chat, you
roll
want to
call
shout out,
already?
just hit us up. Getting the hiccups. Not sure what we're going to do about that. So, LA burned down.
It did. Very.
That is past tense. That means it has already happened.
Some of the swankiest, most fashionable neighborhoods in LA are a smoldering ruin now.
And as I remember, didn't we just have one of the wettest spring and summer on record?
Yeah, the last few years we had sufficient rainfall that they were no longer able to say there was a drought. But we
Okay.
still, as we have for many decades, we do an extremely terrible job of using the water resources that we have. We don't catch any of the water that falls out of the sky. And 60 years ago, we had the technology to build desalination plants up and down the coast and use that as an additional resource for firefighting, among other things. But we can't do it and haven't done it because we don't want to inconvenience some ridiculous fish that nobody even eats.
Smelt, in case you're curious. If you're from anywhere else in the world, it's called smelt.
I love the Trump soundbite, but it's called the smelt, and nobody cares about the smelt. Nobody even eats the smelt. It's a stupid little fish, and they don't want to buy the smelt.
Hey, hold on, man. Look, like I hear where he's coming from. And I can appreciate environmental protection. I can appreciate the ideas.
Yes, nobody doesn't want environmental protection, but maybe can we have a little bit of nuance and try to balance the needs of humanity versus whatever ridiculous sea creature you're trying to save that nobody's ever heard of?
Well, yeah, I mean, I get that, but it's not just sea creatures and stuff like that. It's not just fish. There's freaking lizards in the high desert that they're stopping the prescribed burns, to limit the amount of wildfires that take place. They won't let the prescribed burns go through. And since that doesn't happen, you end up with things like ground fires. You end up with exactly what has happened in LA. It's fast.
Yeah, and here's the other side of that coin of ridiculousness. Because on the one hand, we can't do controlled burns because we don't want to inconvenience this desert creature. But on the other hand, they're building these big, stupid mirror farms out in the middle of the desert that completely decimates the life cycle of that same creature they say they want to save.
That's literally burning birds out of the sky. We've got windmills, these ginormous wind farms that are just chopping little birdies up left, right, and center. And I heard nobody say nothing about none of that.
No, none of the creatures that get blasted out of the sky by the mirror Death Star farm are nobody sheds a tear for them. Just like nobody sheds a tear for the victims of those ridiculous bat chomping, bird slicing eco crucifixes that everyone all loves so much.
These things. So like all of LA, like most of LA, it's smoldering ruin. I feel bad for them. I do. I find it funny that the governor has sponsored certain links, like his PR campaign and this wildfire seem to be inextricably linked through financing to some extent. But I guess it makes sense. If you're going to operate in a one-party system, you might as well stack the deck as hard as you possibly can. I mean, nobody will notice, right? So we're just going to go with that. The whole Act Blue fiasco, it's not as serious a fiasco as people would like to imply. The issue I have is with time frame. I mean, what is it, like 9% goes to Act Blue, the rest is supposed to go to the Firefighter Foundation or whatever. Okay, sure, but it's within like 30 days or 90 days. And if you just donate straight to the Firefighter Foundation, they just get it.
Yeah. I mean,
like now, right now, like
donate to anything, and what black hole of graft and corruption isn't going to disappear down. I think I would probably trust the Red Cross, and that's about it.
Yeah, but what can you do? I'm
Yeah.
not one of those people who sit around and lament the fact that people get what they vote for. But I mean, that's kind of where you're at now. All of this is terrible, but if you don't manage your wildfire potential properly, you end up with wildfires. That's how
Well,
that
they.
works.
I mean, if we wanna be fans who keep score at home, this story starts 4 or 5 years ago when they fired 130 veteran firefighters for refusing the China virus vaccine, and
Right.
then they followed that up with installing a very lesbian fire chief who was far more interested in being a gay activist than doing the things that we
All right.
normally associate with being a fire chief.
So for that point, let's take that point on right quick. Just me and you, bro. You know, there ain't nobody else listening. It's just us. So there's been a bit of a kerfuffle being thrown up about the whole DEI program in the fire service, but I want to stand by my brothers and sisters over there because if I can get a firefighter that's built like the man chick, I'm good with it. That's fine by me. As long as she's 6'2" and can throw me over her shoulder like Thor of Asgard, I'm fine with it. What I don't want is somebody to tell me that I'm going to burn alive because I ended up in the wrong place.
You mean a 90-pound girl isn't going to carry you out of a burning building? Is that what you're trying to tell me, you sexist?
I suspect it might be more difficult for her versus say Ezra. If you met Ezra, as you met Sarah, she's Mindful Exposures on YouTube. She is 6'6". She weighs some 190 pounds or so, and that woman could throw me over her shoulder and march me down a mountain, and I wouldn't resist in the least. However, I just do not see her having the same problems that like the cheerleader down the block would have.
Who's this angry guy in the chat?
Is it not Laws?
Yeah.
Yeah. He
God, he seems
left
upset.
wing. Well, no, that's just him, dude. That you'll get used to it. It's great for interaction and engagement. But no, he's one of those people.
I love the crowd you attacked, my friend.
Dude, I got to give him credit. He's at least one of those moderately clever people anyway. He is being nice, by the way. That is true.
Well, it's probably a tough night for him anyway, you know, since it's the very end of the golden age of Joe Biden.
Yeah, right. Imagine he's going to have issues for days to come. Going to have to talk to his therapist.
They tried to have a protest today in Washington. It didn't look like it went very. Boy, there sure is a difference between now and 8 years ago, isn't there?
Ain't it?
8 years ago, man, they had all the cities. They had people marching, and they had the signs, and they were chanting all the most fashionable, inane slogans, and "We are the resistance," and all that stuff. And this year, all we have is we're gonna wear black because we're so sad.
I saw a live stream the other day of a transgender woman who was lamenting the fact that all of her rights were going to be repealed tomorrow.
Oh yeah, yep.
And I'm very confused. The Constitution pretty much states that they're human rights for the most part.
People
the
have
most basic.
very strange ideas of how the world actually works. Which on its own would be just funny and amusing. The trouble is they vote based on those ideas. Like that someone's actually going to come to your house and take you away to a prison camp for being a man who dresses up like a lady.
Yeah, I don't know about the West Coast, but on the East Coast, we don't rightly care. We just don't want you to get your dress caught in the machinery.
Exactly.
You know,
just do your transvestitism in a safe way.
Yeah.
Of course it is. Why wouldn't it be?
I, you know, sometimes it's really hard not to engage with chat because I find it humorous, you know.
I think he's just having a
Now,
conversation with himself.
oh no, we've had a few conversations in the past, and we've kind of been over parts of this on some level or another, and he's just taken another round of shots at all the same targets that were previously shot at. And
I,
it's the same thing. I mean, it's just straight out of the playbook.
I would like to see how many names he can call me between now and the end of the program.
Wow. Okay. That's up to you, bud. If you want to try to take on that one, go
It
right
is
on
an open
ahead.
challenge.
All right. So Andy Redson sent me an email with all kinds of LA fire footage. Uh, I mean, a ridiculous amount.
There is a lot of footage that you're not getting from the mainstream fake news media. So,
Well, yeah, no, almost none of this. Well, I mean, the interviews and stuff come from mainstream, but for the most part, it's
so
literally people.
I'm talking about actual burn footage, especially burn footage that is associated.
Right.
A lot of that stuff is being heavily suppressed.
And this guy lives. Well, I mean, he lives quite a bit south of you. He's too far east to be really involved with the fires, but he's been trying to get down there to try to help. And some of the issues with that is they have limits on how many people they can take on board per day, to like, even if you're volunteering. And so I don't understand it. I mean, around here, if you show up and there's a fire and you're trying to put it out, for the most part, they let you. It's just kind of how that works. But then again, I'm in Georgia. We have an immense amount of rain compared to California. And you might think that might keep fire down, and it does to a degree, but also we have an immense amount of growth as compared to California. So what would take 5 or 6 years for y'all to develop into a wildfire, we do it in 8 months. Like, we have vine over here called kudzu that can eat your entire house in a single summer.
All those people who abandoned their cars on the road, I wonder how many of them locked the doors and took the keys with them. Because I guarantee you a lot of them did. Even though, you know, if you stop to think about it for a second, you might think, maybe I should leave the keys in it so they don't have to bulldoze my car aside and wreck the shit out of it later. I'm just saying.
I don't know, man. What
The
kind of
firefighters
logic?
probably are not gonna steal your car, but they are very interested in being able to move your car to the side of the road so they can get their vehicles through.
Which means everybody's got rear end damage.
Oh, at least minimum.
Yeah, every single car down that road just got rammed by a large freaking
Yeah,
truck.
because when it's a matter of having to come in with a front end loader and move vehicles aside so you can get emergency vehicles down, they are not going to give one single fuck about preserving your fenders.
So if you notice, the people that are working on these fires are using an extreme minimal amount of water. And they're not even attempting to put out fires that have gone beyond a certain point. I can't say as I blame them. I mean, it's not like it's a single structure fire. We are talking. This is on par with like the
But
Great Chicago Fire.
what it is a really extreme departure from what we normally get in this state with wildfires. Anybody who has lived here for any appreciable period of time knows that down through our history, every region, once or twice a decade, there is a really awful firestorm that burns hundreds of houses. The difference is that this fire should have been a several hundred acre. This should not have been a fire. The winds were bad, yeah, but it shouldn't have been a fire that burned thousands of homes. If you had basic resources in place that are supposed to be in place, because let's face it, what is life in a third world country look like? You hook up a hose to a fire hydrant and no water comes out. When you hook up a hose to an American fire hydrant, fucking water should come out. That's a basic first world civilizational standard that Americans are supposed to be able to expect, but the people of Los Angeles no longer can.
These are the people that left their keys in the car, that did not leave their keys in the car. There with a bulldozer moving your shit out of the way.
Yep. And like, what did you think was going to happen to your car when you ran away from it? I know you were fleeing for your life, maybe not thinking all that rationally in the moment, but just take a second to think about it.
Sure, but I mean, I can't really judge people too harshly. I mean, when you are moving in the moment and you're not really thinking ahead,
Yeah,
you lock your car, you throw your keys in the pocket, and you walk away. At 20 minutes down the road, you go, "Shit, I should have left the keys in the car." You're gonna need to move that thing.
And I think people who take pleasure in this stuff just because you Democrats got what you voted for. People who say stuff like that are absolutely disgusting because
they are disgusting.
You don't ever take pleasure in people losing things and being harmed. That's awful, evil behavior.
But when you vote in the type of negligent politics that has been in control of California for the past 40 years, this is the type of negligent reaction that ends up taking place on the other end of those policies. A lack of basic resources, a lack of basic services, a lack of insurance, totally pulled out of the state for the most part because California would not rectify the wildfire risks. And
you know
go ahead.
You know what's a hell of a damn shame is it's like this in New York and Los Angeles alike.
Sure.
Much needed change that is decades too late never happens until the celebrity class is affected.
Well, look at the subways in New York. There's currently a big frou-for-all going on over there because the New York subway system has been allocated massive amounts of money over the past 20, 30 years, and are still operating on systems that are 100 years old. They use time clock, like stopwatches and pencils to keep track of where the trains are.
And they've just massively increased the rider load on the subway too, because they've just instituted, as I'm sure you know, what's it called, a congestion tax in Manhattan, where you have to pay something like $17 every time you drive a car in there. So whatever problems exist on the subway just got a whole hell of a lot worse.
So is that 17 in to where you park and then 17 out when leaving? Or is that just a tax that's just on a day?
You know, I'm not sure I know the answer to that question. It wouldn't surprise me if it was both ways. I think it's just in though. Let me look it up.
I don't know. I think it's got to be in the day. It's got to be a day thing because they're largely that's going to impact most of your transit drivers and stuff, people who are calling cargo.
Yeah.
The urge is to try to drive as many people as possible to subways and bus lines. I'm not sure I mean, it will have some effect. Probably people Ubering to just outside the congestion area and then taking buses, but we'll see.
Yeah, I was wrong on the amount. Most vehicles are charged $9 for driving below 60th Street during peak hours.
Isn't that the same thing that the fast food restaurants are doing with their peak charging? You noticed that?
It's not all that much different, really. But yeah, God, imagine if you had to drive into Manhattan 2 or 3 times in the same day, just in the course of doing your job.
Yeah, and who pays that? Does the company pay for that, or
yeah,
does
of course they do. I can't imagine they're given very many special exemptions on that because they don't give special exemptions for big government cash grabs in New York City.
Right. Huh. Boy, he just chopped up a bunch of stuff in here, didn't he?
John Stewart.
And I'm pretty sure most of it's all muted. So what do you do? How do you improve the circumstances from here? And just to go ahead and make this perfectly clear.
Well, there are a lot of people here in California who seem to think, and I think it's a naive thinking, frankly, that this experience is going to be so eye-opening and so terrible that it's going to create a political tipping point that manifests itself in the next election in a couple years. And that's just absolutely not going to happen, because it took 30 years for them to make this into a one-party state and capture all the institutions and all the things that you need to capture in order to create and maintain a one-party state. And you just can't undo a thing like that overnight. It has to things that take years long to institute take years long to undo.
And that, my friends, is called progress. So
yeah, progress
theory.
means we've been doing the wrong thing the last 30 years and we should stop.
Tinfoil hat theory. So I've been bombarded by, because I associate with a few little truther groups out there, just on a lark, and flat earthers, just pretty much anything of interest in esoterica. I love it. These people are making direct analogies from the handling of the Maui fires directly to the handling of the LA fires by way of military activity instead of dumb Democrat policies.
Oh, okay, the Maui fire. Remember when Joe Biden went to Maui and told the story of his 2004 kitchen fire? Wasn't that so very sensitive?
Oh, wow.
I'm surprised he didn't go to LA and tell that fucking story.
Wait, week ain't over yet, sir. So here's what they dealt to me, and it was 3 or 4 different people, and so there's no linear plot line through any of this, because it's just sort of each one's conclusions separately. First one, here comes your 15-minute city. It's fixing to happen in LA. It's going to be the jewel of the West Coast. That's the plan. 2, prepping for the Olympics. This was to clear out all the riffraff and get rid of the homeless.
The Olympics. Man.
Here comes, and he also mentioned the 15-minute city, but he was mentioning it in association with catering directly to the Olympics and the whole globalist agenda thing. Right.
Hey, the line has got that beat. The line is going to be a 5-minute city, baby.
The line is never going to be built.
You saw where they massively downsized it, right?
Yeah, it's now like a couple of buildings, a few hundred yards apart.
They shaved it down from 100 miles to 1.5 miles.
Well, yeah, I think it's a good test bed for technology, to be honest. I mean, that's really all these white elephants are good for. They're what did they call him back in medieval times? Follies.
Yeah, they did manage to move a hell of a lot of sand, though. You got to give them that.
That's true. But if anybody on Earth has expertise doing it, it's
exactly
them. Let's see, what was the other one? Oh yeah. All right. So it was a testing of directed energy weapons gone wrong by, of course, the local government, the federal government, CCP, or Russia. Right. And one thing I couldn't find in this is any saved blue houses just sitting around. All right, I'm done. That has been your tinfoil minute.
We should do tinfoil hour. I love tinfoil minute.
Well,
Lay some more tinfoil on me.
I think a tinfoil minute per show might be pretty. Might work.
Should we talk about the matter of Antarctica?
Okay, so, ladies and gentlemen, it has finally been determined by at least half of the flat earthers that
Wait
the
for it.
earth may indeed be wrong. Uh, the earth may indeed be round, probably wrong as well, if I had to guess. I mean, grand scheme
When
of things.
and the thing that broke the case wide open, and correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, but one of the most prominent YouTube flat earthers, somebody talked him into taking a trip to Antarctica, and he said, if I see the sun shine for 24 hours a day, then I will concede the argument. And he actually paid for the guy to go down to Antarctica just to see that and concede that the Earth isn't flat.
So these handful of YouTubers go to Antarctica and they witness the 24-hour sun themselves. They themselves went past the ice wall and saw that it's pretty much just more ice over there, and that compasses don't work, and a few other basic proofs of around Earth. And the the copium started flowing so fully. And you think the salt must flow? Copium is a much more dense substance, apparently, because it
We need an
sinks straight to the bottom,
18-hour session in the copium den right now, baby.
right? Pull up a chair, because here we go.
Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing well, and thanks for joining us for another video. Now, it's been a few weeks since the final experiment trip to Antarctica, and the responses from flat earthers have been both plentiful and desperate. From faking breath to no footprints, from a giant LED studio to Masonic traditions with a boot. The responses have not only been epic, but also completely wrong. So, in this video, I'm going to go through the various supposed proofs of fakery that flat earthers have found. Now, the whole...
All right, I love this. I want to shout this dude out, because Dave McKeegan is the one who done this video. And I was thinking about doing something very similar and stumbled across this one. He had already had like several of the clips I was going to use in this video. And I was like, okay, well, if you're going to do it better, I'm going to watch it.
I just
Right?
like that he's shooting the video with his dog on his lap. That's the most
Damn right.
precious thing I ever saw in my fucking life.
Although he does look a little terrified.
vape gate incident and breath not being seen, I've actually already addressed in this video, which I'll link below. But not to worry, there are plenty of other claims left to debunk. So let's start at the beginning. In Antarctica, we each did various live streams during our time recording the 24-hour sun. The first stream that was done was at midnight, when the sun should have most definitely set, but it hadn't. Now, Will did this live stream on the Final Experiments YouTube channel. In it, he talked about the trip. He rotated the laptop round to show the area that we were in and the sun. And then we each had an opportunity to say a few words ourselves on camera. And this is where we ran into conspiracy number one, the green screen. Now, when Critical Think came on to speak, he wanted to go and show his weights experiment that he'd set up in the hut. So he and Will went inside with the laptop to show that. However, unbeknownst to us at the time, because we were all just standing outside and not actually watching the stream, the numbers on the scales weren't visible because the backlight of the scale screen was green. And Will's laptop had the green screen chroma key option enabled because he usually films in front of a green.
Oh, that is a bad woof, dude. Oh, that kind of sucks. Yeah, the plot thickens. Maybe it is flat. What do we know?
Green screen. So it was replacing the scales screen with the black background that he usually uses. Now, that in of itself was neither here nor there. However, once Will went back outside, I spoke, then Mike spoke, then Jaren, Lisbeth, and Austin, and then finally Jonathan. And when Jonathan appeared on screen, there was a big black patch and the letters TFE appearing on his top, which, as you can imagine, sent people into meltdown claiming green screens. Now, as you can see from the photos that I took at the time, Jonathan's top actually has a teal.
So I sat in on a Flat Earther stream a couple of hours after all of this had gone full tilt. And most of the live streams from all of this were already available, and they were going over them for the first time. And they were taking shots at everything you can imagine, like no footprints on the snow. Well, at negative 30 degrees, snow isn't exactly like snow on Aspen. You know what I'm saying? You're not skiing across this for fun.
Oh, they will grasp it. You have to be willing to grasp at a lot of straws in order to accept that kind of a worldview in the first place, really.
I think it just takes a lack of willing to do the actual math. When I was in high school, I had a fairly eccentric science teacher. One of the things that we did,
I love eccentric science teachers. They are the best.
It was direct result of a person in class stating succinctly that the earth is flat and then quoting from the Bible. And he stood up and went, "I'll be right back," and left, and came back and handed out permission slips to everybody, and then called that kid's mama and was like, "I want him to go on this trip. We're going to make some measurements in the field." Specifically, what we did is we went from a town up in North Georgia to a town down in South Georgia, and we made measurements of the sun and shadows and whatnot. And
the exact same experiment that Aristarchus did in 1300 BC.
Right, 3,000 years ago. Yes.
Yep.
So, I mean, if you're willing to put in the footwork and the groundwork, you cannot. There are no pilots for flat earthers.
The thing you need above all else is a desire to know what the facts actually are.
Sure. Well, to trust observation as well.
Yeah.
Because sometimes things appear other than they actually are, and only through observational measurements can we succinctly define the character of whatever we're dealing with.
It's a powerful desire. It happens even among the most learned scientists. The not wanting to be wrong because it's going to make your entire life's work look foolish. Of course, people wouldn't want to admit things like that. Yet that's been the story of science as long as science has existed.
So
Einstein didn't think black holes existed. He went to his grave refusing to accept that they were real, but they're real.
Yeah, they do appear to be, and seem to exist mathematically within the general theory of relativity.
Yeah, so they are mathematically inevitable.
All right. They're asking you to turn up your mic a bit. Let me see if you can tinker with it in StreamYards. I got you.
You got me?
Yeah, I got you. Go for it.
Sorry, folks. It's been a while.
There we go. Dulcet tones. What's up, Firm?
Colored patch on it, which is where TFE was showing up. Will's chroma key option was just replacing that patch with his usual TFE background, which ironically shows that we can't have been in front of a green screen, because if we were, then whatever we were displaying on the background would have also displayed on Jonathan's top. The funniest part about this conspiracy for me is it nearly didn't happen, because after Jaren, Lisbeth, and Austin had all been up to speak, Will just pressed on with the stream, seemingly forgetting that Jonathan hadn't yet spoken, which is kind of understandable because Jonathan was there just constantly filming us. So you kind of forgot he was one of the group rather than an outside observer. So we actually ended up just the other side of the laptop.
Which proves that flat earthers are assholes.
Indeed.
Top from Will, basically gesturing towards Jonathan to try and point out to Will that Jonathan had been missed. So Jonathan almost didn't end up on the stream, so the chroma key glitch would have never have appeared. Then after that stream had finished and Will started to see the comments being made about the whole green screen, we wound up doing another stream later on to highlight the clear lack of green screen, which not only involved Will showing various colored objects, now with the chroma key option disabled on his computer,
And by the way, while you can, for the most part, pick whatever color you want to utilize for your green screen, green and blue, the two colors he currently has on screen right now, are the two base colors that are available.
The amount of effort you can devote in the third decade of the 21st century just to make people accept realities that are observationally self-evident will never cease to amaze me.
Stick around, it gets better.
Computer, but he also flew his drone, and MC Toon streamed live at the same time to give a second vantage point, even at one point having the cameras of the live streams facing towards each other, all in an attempt to show that we weren't in front of a green screen. And I even recorded Will's drone flight on my camera, and all of this was also caught on the 360 cameras as well. But even this stream brought claims of fakery along with it, because Will's drone has a collision warning system.
We'll get to that in a
beeps.
minute.
Quiet and listen to the
green
beat,
screen.
man. Sorry.
This drone would not be able to fly backwards toward MC Toon, who's also live streaming.
Okay.
Why not?
And who's also
And now it's beeping that he's getting closer to it.
It was beeping, and people seem to think that was somehow the drone being near the edge of the studio.
Yes, maybe he's just
All right,
launching.
now I'm gonna come right back
It got
to
close to the, it got close to the screen. It got close to the
Yeah.
screen in the studio.
Wow.
That's what happened. And Toon tried to cover it up by walking toward the thing, but it was beeping.
And the
really
chowder
fast. If
thickens.
you listen when it goes away from the Toon, it goes beep, 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 and starts slowing down. And then it gets off in the distance and starts going dee, 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 and then Toon starts walking to it. If it was because of Toon, it would have started off slow and gotten faster.
Now, Where's Wally has actually put together a synced up video showing the view from Will's and Toon's live streams, the recording from the drone itself. Mark Herman was recording, as well as the video that I captured.
Okay, so here's the current challenge for this bit. Is it possible to do this if you had all of the money from a state-run operation? Could you have pulled this off with Stanley Kubrick?
I just want to say, if I could get a free trip to Antarctica just by pretending to think the world is flat, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Damn right. And I think that answers all of my questions.
So obviously, there was a green screen. This drone would not be able to fly backwards toward MC Toon, who's also live streaming. He's also filming the drone. All right, now I'm going to come right back to us. All right.
Seemingly, they overlook that when the drone first starts up, it's right next to a stand with a laptop on it. Then, as the drone is backing away, MC Toon is walking along with it, and the drone beeps are going off. MC Toon then stops, the drone carries on moving away from him. Eventually, the beeping then stops. Will starts bringing the drone back towards the laptop. The beepings then start as it's getting near to Toon again. So, yes, of course, the drone is beeping because it's detecting Toon as a potential obstruction. And the funny
Even the
thing
dog
is,
can't believe it.
they claim that the drone started beeping again because it's reaching the edge of the studio wall. But you can see from the footage how far away the drone goes from Will, and then he brings it back. After he's brought it back again, I went walking off down the same path to take some photos. You can see me on the time-lapse footage as well as in the background of Will's stream. And I walked much further away than the drone went. So why didn't I walk into a wall? But anyway, after we then recorded the full 24-hour sun, the first standalone video we published was a 48-second time-lapse view of the sun circling around us.
That is really
and
cool.
that went up on my YouTube channel. This was a sped up clip
That is really, really cool, though.
that was taken from the full 25-minute 360-degree time lapse. The full 360 time lapse was some 36 gigabytes in file size, which was just too much to upload on the camp's internet. So I made a sped up tracked version, which was less than 300 megabytes, much more manageable for shared Wi-Fi. And as a side note, as this was the first video that we were publishing of the 24-hour sun, I felt it was appropriate that Will himself publish it, since it was him that made the whole trip possible.
We are publishing our first time lapse of the 24-hour sun right here in Antarctica. Done.
It's a fake sun! The disco ball!
Once that video went live, flat earthers quickly began looking for faults with it. And the first one that I saw people bring up, I think it came from Flat Earth Banjo, who'd noticed that near the end of the time lapse, you can see sunlight shining down the side of my tracked camera.
You see that the light is shining towards the side of the camera, meaning that the source of the light, the sun, is really coming from the east and not from the south. Okay, so these guys got busted, and they will have to lie for the rest of their lives, just like Buzz Aldrin.
Wow.
And of course,
Oh yeah, yep. He mixes in the Apollo conspiracy right at the end, because of course he does.
Wow. Like I didn't even see that coming.
He's gonna have to lie for his whole life, just like Buzz
Oh,
Aldrin.
shit.
Sonic Rich.
I fucked everything up. We're professionals, people. You didn't see that,
Buzz Aldrin is a fucking badass.
right? He really is.
But once that video went live, flat earthers quickly began looking for faults with it. And the first one that I saw people bring up, I think it came from Flat Earth Banjo, who'd noticed that near the end of the time lapse, you can see
That the source of the light, the sun, got busted.
And of course, how could sunlight be shining down the side of the camera if the camera is supposed to be tracking towards the sun? Well, the simple answer is that it had stopped following the sun at that point. In the 360 time lapse, you can see that the tracker actually reverses direction and starts spinning the camera away from the sun, which then, of course, causes the sunlight to be approaching the camera from the side and lighting up the side of it. Mind you, this is the same Flat Earth Banjo that thinks he's debunked the entire final experiment by comparing the elevation of the sun in one of our video clips to the elevation of the sun seen at a similar latitude in the Northern Hemisphere in Svalbard in Norway in June. However, it seems Flat Earth Banjo either didn't notice, or he was hoping his audience wouldn't notice, that he's looking at the midnight sun in the north at midnight. It's actually written quite clearly there on the screen. Now in Antarctica,
Do you get it?
Sorry, I was typing something.
Oh, he put a proof of the 24-hour sun in the north as his debunking of the 24-hour sun in the south, which is that's an interesting cell phone there. It's posting your own else.
Should we talk about my Mount Everest thing for a few minutes?
Yeah.
All right, so if you wanna pull this up while I'm setting it up, there's a kid named Ryan Mitchell. He's got a YouTube video. It's about just under 5 hours long, about his entire 42-day experience of summiting Mount Everest, and it's become quite a source of controversy among the Mount Everest YouTube community. Now, I first became familiar with the Mount Everest
in
YouTube
Svalbard
community
in Norway.
back earlier last year when Jimmy Chin and his camera crew happened to find Sandy Irvin's foot randomly laying on the ground. Sandy Irvin, of course, who was the partner of George Mallory, the two of them who famously disappeared in one of the early attempts to summit Mount Everest in 1924. But as you would expect, most of the guys who run these Mount Everest oriented YouTube channels are gray bearded gentlemen in their 60s and 70s, which there's nothing wrong with that. I'm a gray bearded gentleman myself. But there was something about this kid's video that really got on their wrong side, and it's caused a lot of very fevered condemnation on their part, because I think mostly they just don't like that this kid's video has 3.8 million views. But setting that aside, they think he's not taking this thing seriously enough. He's just a 19-year-old kid. They think he's not showing the proper solemnity for the location and the experience. They think he's having too much fun and talking too much. The thing that really pissed him off the most was that he did a backflip on the top of the mountain, and that was just the last bridge too far for these old timers. And as with most intergenerational arguments, you have both sides with a perfectly valid argument. You don't have an argument where you can just say this side's right and this side's wrong. From the kid's perspective, I think this video that he's made as a piece of documentary filmmaking is brilliant and indispensable. It's the best look I have ever seen at what the firsthand experience looks like of one individual. It's Ryan Mitchell. The video is Climbing Mount Everest, full 42-day journey. So I think there should be a little bit more, maybe a little bit less grumpy old man instinct on the old timer side. There's nothing wrong with being an old timer. I know those guys have a wealth of experience, and I really have come to enjoy watching their videos because they have a lot of experience about the history of mountaineering, and not just on Mount Everest, but on various other mountains. However, they are correct that the kid probably does talk a little bit too much. He probably isn't taking some of this stuff as seriously as he should, and I think they're right about the backflip thing. It's great that you want to do a backflip. It's great that you want to be in whatever record book as doing the highest backflip in the world. But what happens if you don't stick the landing? What happens if you roll your ankle?
You become green boots.
You become green boots. That is exactly correct.
Yes,
because
sir. You become green boots. And if I assume, I mean, I'm not exactly, so I wouldn't want my kid up there doing that. It seems dangerous. But my point being, homie climbed to the highest point on earth and had the audacity to do a backflip.
Yeah.
That's jackass eligible, dude. Homie needs to be signed for an MTV Cribs immediately.
Yeah, because that's where stuff like that belongs, if we're being honest.
Hey, sure, yeah. Denigrate it, talk trash about it. What you're not going to do is reduce what he's done. How many people on earth can say they went to the top?
Well, the thing that I found most valuable about watching that video is that there is a perception among the Everest old timer YouTubers that Everest it's gotten so ridiculous in terms of becoming a tourist destination instead of a mountaineering achievement. They to hear them talk, it's gotten almost to the point where if you've got enough money and a big enough check to write, that you can just basically have Sherpas drag you up to the top and get you to the summit, even if you have absolutely zero physical mountaineering skills. And I think this video gives lie to that whole assertion, because
yeah,
I grant you, you know, it's really great that they have all these fixed ropes that they can avail themselves of. It's really great that they have all these aluminum ladders they can walk across, where, you know, what did Sir Edmund Hillary have to do when he had a 5-foot crevasse in front of him? He had to throw his shit to the other side and jump and hope he made it. That was
solid.
And yeah, and that's a hell of a lot different than having an aluminum ladder placed there for you, and you've got two nice taut ropes on it. You've basically got a couple of handrails, and you just have to not fall off this ladder. I mean, that's, as a mountaineering experience, that is drastically different to what it used to be. And the first ascent of this peak, I think we tend to forget, it's only not even 75 years ago yet, which is really kind of amazing that you can go from a virgin peak never before climbed by anybody to less than a century later, where you just buy a ticket and you get up to the top and you wind up standing in line for 4 hours like it's the fucking DMV. And your grand reward is 20 seconds on the top, and somebody takes a snapshot and you're done. Get lost.
You get kind of the same treatment at Six Flags Over Georgia.
Exactly. That's the exact same thing I kept thinking as I was watching it. That it's like the DMV or it's like an amusement park.
And then you actually get to ride the roller coaster, which I think might be better than trying to get to the top of Mount Everest. Because look at that joint. It's all fucked
Because
up.
how much awe and wonder can there really be in the experience when you're just sharing it with dozens of other people?
And look at all the trash. Look at all the garbage. Man.
The garbage is disgusting. Looking at the amount of garbage just makes me wish they would shut down the mountain entirely. I know they can't, but that's the kind of instinct it makes me have.
You know, I think I got a little higher on my wedding night, but that's neither here nor there. I want to see how he does a backflip tied to 3,000 people.
You know, I saw the backflip in a video that was complaining about the backflip before I ever saw the original video, which was kind of funny because I didn't put two and two together until way after. He actually did an earlier backflip when he was down at the base camp, and the Sherpas even got pissed off at him about that.
Ugh.
They said, you know, son, if you hurt yourself doing something stupid like that,
you're dead.
I mean, at base camp, you could be carried out, but you know, even still, it's going to take 3 Sherpas to tend to your stupid ass that wanted to do a silly stunt and, you know, did whatever you did, landed wrong and broke your ankle.
Absolute facts, man.
I mean, I understand his youthful exuberance. I respect it. I think we were all exuberant when we were youthful, but it's difficult for some of the things not to see and accept the perspective of the angry old timers who are going.
I am not trying to disrespect the angry old timers. They did it in a way that this man did not. But that being said, he went to the top of the world, still had the balls to do a backflip. I don't know, man. I mean,
but most importantly of all,
let me ask you.
Go ahead.
What barriers are there to climb at this point? What frontiers do young men have to explore? Where can they go for their adventure?
It's an outstanding question. Because there are a lot fewer than there used to be. It used to be that a man could just strike off in search of adventure. It's much more difficult to do that now.
Apparently, the Amazon studios burned. What's up, Beak? Welcome in, bud. All right.
Really? And where'd you read that?
Well, I'm guessing that's what's up. Have you checked out? Have you seen Amazon Studios? DJ Emo's asking. I'm using my screen at the moment, but I'll check it out when I get a chance. I don't know what he's talking about. What I miss?
Me either.
I'm really hoping.
But the place where I depart from the angry old timers is, I understand that he does some annoying stuff throughout the video. All young people do annoying stuff, but this piece of filmmaking that he has produced, and I'm more inclined to refer to it as filmmaking than video, because I think it rises to that level. I think it's an indispensable document he's been able to produce at the age of 19, and I think that deserves boundless respect and praise.
Huh. I figured the most watched part of the video would be him doing the backflip. Apparently it's
You know
not.
what? I think the current version of the video that he has up, he's edited out the backflip because so many
So
people
now I'm
got
going
pissed off
back.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay. You got the balls to do it, but don't have balls to prove it, sir.
Yeah.
Powder puff.
But it's fun, isn't it, when you randomly discover these new little corners of YouTube
Yeah.
subcultures that you didn't know existed before?
Like it.
Oh,
Like it.
or there's another YouTube subculture that is very, very enjoyable, is angry Indian cricket fan YouTuber.
Really?
Though those guys go off, dude. Yeah.
Well, aren't all cricket fans just like kind of nuts in the first place?
Indian cricket fans are unlike any other sports fans I have experienced in my entire life. I used to think that the way Canadians feel about hockey was something close to religion, which it is, but Indians with cricket is a level beyond that. I'm not even certain how to describe. Maybe Brazilians with soccer is kind of close.
I'm willing to accept your expertise on it. I've never met an Indian cricket fan, but I've met a couple of cricket fans, and they were both nuts.
Yeah, since I became a cricket fan, I've got an England cap and an Australia cap now, and the guy at my local smoke shop, who is Indian, so obviously he's a cricket fan. He's seen me wear an England cap and an Australia cap, so he's not sure what the hell to think. Because that's not something that one normally does. I can't help it. I like England and Australia.
So you turned me onto a story backstage that I think needs to be brought up before we actually sign out.
Okay.
Apparently, Brad Pitt was in the hospital, needs a kidney, and some old lady tried to pay for it. How did we end up in this position? Because old ladies
She's
are gullible.
53. She's not old.
Okay, well, you got me there.
And too close for comfort.
A double take. Yeah, because that's not actually Brad Pitt, and he's not actually posing for pics in a hospital.
Well, you're in the know.
A 53-year-old French woman says these images, created with AI technology, scammed her into forking over $850,000.
Boy, that was a deep dig into that piggy bank.
850.
850, folks. What's up, Izzy?
And behold the photoshops that were good enough to extract that 850.
To someone she believed was an ill brat. The woman detailed the con in an interview 7 to 8 on French TV channel TF1, which was removed from the
I
channel.
like the one where he holds up a little sign and says, "I love you." What's her name?
Wow.
After she said
Yeah. It's this one over here off the frame.
cyberbullied over falling for the
wild.
scam. She claims a person posing as the actor's mom DM'd her on Facebook, and a month later, the fake Brad started communicating with her himself, asking her to marry him, ditch her husband, and help him out with some medical bills he says he couldn't afford because his money was tied up in his divorce to Angelina Jolie. In the sit-down, the woman explains that, quote, "At first I said to myself that it was fake, that it's ridiculous. But I'm not used to social media, and I didn't really understand what was happening to me." The woman, who was married to a millionaire athlete.
Can you imagine waking up one morning and trying to tell your husband that you gave some random dude $850,000 of his millionaire asset?
Yeah, because that is that is way the hell worse than "honey, I had an affair."
Well, baby, tell me you're having sex with him, please. Don't tell me that you gave me give him all my money.
I sent 850 large to fake Brad Pitt for his kidney transplant, honey.
I'd rather you be knocked up. Like, stop it. Get some help.
Yep. God,
Ended up leaving her husband to pursue a relationship with the faux Brad and was duped into sending over the cash. As for how she finally caught on to the scam, when she came across a snap of the A-lister with his girlfriend, Inez de Ramon.
But honey, I have to keep up appearances. I can't be telling everybody that I'm in love with some millionaire heiress with a husband.
I know. It's gotta be our little secret, honey.
Yeah, you can't tell nobody.
She has reportedly filed a police report. Quote, I ask myself why they chose me to do such harm like this. I've never harmed anyone. These people deserve hell. This comes months after the real Brad reacted to scammers stealing money by impersonating him. A rep for the actor telling ET in September, it's awful that scammers take advantage of fans' strong connection with celebrities. Brad's team adding, it's an important reminder to not respond to unsolicited online outreach.
So what do you make
My
of that?
name is
man?
Lieutenant Aldo Rain, and I need me a new kidney and 100 Nazi scalps. Sorry.
Oh, feel free, bro. It's your show. Go ahead.
Oh, there's so many Brad Pitt places I could go with that.
Right. You ever heard about actor theory? So
No.
I think there's a universe out there where actors absorb the powers of the characters they play, and that's why you don't mess with Keanu Reeves or Sean Bean. You just need to leave them alone.
I don't know about Sean Bean because Sean Bean has died on screen more times than any other actor, hasn't he?
And he's still kicking. You need to take notice.
And he has come back every single time.
Take notice. He absorbs the powers of the roles he plays. Yeah, they all died, but he didn't.
Sean Bean is the acting version of the Undertaker.
Died on camera more times than the Undertaker. Oh my God, dude.
Rest in peace.
You did good. I'm proud of you, bro. So what do we got planned for next week? As you can see, my voice is completely trash, so I'm going to try to lay out of as many streams as possible.
We've got the first week of the second Donald Trump administration to talk about next week. I think there will be no shortage of fodder for the herd.
But this is my question: do we change the name of the show?
We don't change the name of the show. We change the name of the news roundup because we need a less depressing name.
So we get a 10-12 minute. We get
because
something.
Western civilization is no longer in decline; it is roaring back. How about the Hooray for Western Civilization news round? No, that's not exciting enough.
That's not going to work.
The Western Civilization is awesome news roundup.
That's not going to work, bro.
Long live Western Civilization news roundup.
The Pax Americana.
The Washington Redskins news roundup. Sorry,
wow, dude. We'll have to work on that one, but we'll figure it out. Hey, be sure.
Believe it or not, I heard there's a chance that might actually happen.
Well, there's several big teams that are lobbying to get their names back.
I also want, if Trump wants to impress me right off the bat, I want Fort Bragg and Fort Hood reverted to their proper names. And I know a lot of other people do, especially service members and former ones to whom it's very important.
All right, bud. It's about that time.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you ever so much for joining us here on the Blast Radius. It's very nice to be back. Glad you could all make it. There's an exciting day coming up tomorrow. Do make time to watch all of that happiness. We don't get happy days too often. We need to revel in the ones we do get. It should be an exciting week. And we'll be back with you next Sunday and all Sundays going forward in future. So please do have a pleasant tomorrow and a great week. And we'll see you later. Get the hell off my lawn.
Darkness took me, and I strayed out of thought and time. The stars wheeled overhead, and every day was as long as a life age of the earth. But it was not the end. I felt life in me again.
I've been sent back until my task is done. And I come back to you now, at the turn of the tide.
I thank you. My mama thank you too, but she did.